Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my cyborg-enhanced friend, Frank. How are you today?
I am doing quite well, my friend. I'm feeling robotic and wonderful. I actually am cyborg-enhanced. That's not a lie.
I know. That's why I went with that one instead
true.
of, my visor-wearing friend or something like that.
Right.
I went with the cyborg-enhanced.
Right. My
That's
bratty
cool.
clone friend, that doesn't really work either.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, you're not bratty. No.
I thought you were going to say you're not a clone.
I was, I meant to say you're not a clone, and it came out you're not bratty.
Wrong one. That's fine.
Oh, I ruined it. I ruined the good joke. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, Frank, are you drinking something today?
I am drinking something today. So I have a fridge that is stock full of good beers right now, and I'm pretty stoked about it. There is so my cup runneth over. It's an embarrassment of riches. And I've been enjoying this Fiddlehead Brewing Second Fiddle Double IPA that is just delightful. It is a it's very hoppy. It's a little heavy, but it's a really solid beer that I really have been thoroughly enjoying. So Fiddlehead Second Fiddle Double IPA. And I if you're a fan of IPAs and sort of heavier side of that spectrum, I would recommend it.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Do you find that you have tons in your fridge, or are you now running low on your big stock of?
I still have quite a few. I still have quite a few in my fridge. I've got like 1 to 3 bottles or cans of like 5 or 6 different beers. It's a lot. We threw a party. I think I mentioned we threw a party a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people left behind some very delicious beers that they brought as sort of host gifts for the party. So I am benefiting from that very much. But have you been drinking anything interesting lately?
Yes, I am drinking a Revival Brewing Company Fanny Session IPA.
A Revival Brewing Fanny Session.
Are you familiar with Revival? They're from Rhode Island.
Oh.
Rhode Island!
That's obscure.
Rhode Island's out visiting the necessary.
I think you've probably brought Revival on the show before. It sounds familiar.
I think I have. So it's a, it's very hoppy. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. I don't know. It's just like a deep hoppy kind of beer. It's good. Hoppy is not always my go-to, but 'twas given to me, so I shall drink it because it's in my fridge. It's great though. It's got a big elephant on the can, which is pretty fun.
I see that. I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of their beers are really good. I'll have to send you some.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've definitely recognized the logo and stuff. So I think you must have.
I've definitely had some on the show before.
Yeah, you must
in
have.
my fridge.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
cool.
Frank, you were once dead, and now you're alive as a cyborg. How do you feel about that?
Alive.
You feel alive.
I feel like I need to have a mullet.
You feel like you have a mullet? That's interesting.
I feel like I need a mullet now that I'm alive again.
I agree. You think you do need a mullet, I think. But don't tell anybody. Just get one.
I'll just wear a black suit and get a mullet. It'll be fine.
I mean, you are wearing black right now.
That is true. That is,
and you already have a beard. So really, that's all that's missing is the mullet. Actually, you're so close. So anyways, Frank, we're here to talk about the death and return of Superman, the newest additions to the DC animated universe franchise. Right? Death of Superman came out a number of months ago, and Reign of the Supermen just came out whenever it came out, January.
Yeah.
Very recent. Yeah. Very recent. I saw Fathom Events did that, watching both in the theaters event. Did you end up getting to see them both in the theaters, or no? Did you just wait till...
I saw them both at home.
You saw them both at home?
Yep. Okay. I watched Death of Superman when it came to digital a few months ago, and then I watched Reign of the Superman the day that it hit digital in January,
Gotcha.
a couple weeks ago.
What did you think about... Let's start with Death of Superman. What did you think about Death of Superman?
I loved Death of Superman. I was a little skeptical going in because if you remember, the very first DC animated film from this set that they've been doing for the last 12 years or so, 13 years, the very first one was Superman Doomsday. It was the Death of Superman story adapted. And so I was like, well, they're doing it again? Like, they're doing the same story again in the same... And it's not really the same universe because now it's a connected universe and all the stories are happening in the same continuity. So they were doing a new spin on it for this continuity now that it's like,
right.
Basically like an MCU type of situation. And I loved it. I loved this take. This was better than Superman Doomsday.
Oh, way better than
way
Superman
better.
Doomsday from start to finish. It actually felt like Death of Superman, which I really liked. The Doomsday fight itself in Superman Doomsday was pretty good, but even now it doesn't compare to what they're doing.
Agreed.
In their animated shared universe. And oh yeah, I really liked it. I wasn't totally thrilled with Jerry O'Connell when he was first cast as Superman for their animated universe, but he really brought it to Death of Superman.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think especially because it was adapted by Peter J. Tomasi, who is one of the most undersold writers at DC. He's just so good all the time, and
one of the hardest working writers at DC. Like, he is
everywhere.
He's got his hands in everything,
and it's always stellar, always. And he took the best bits out of Death of Superman, I think, and delivered a really solid film. Like, you actually felt the threat of why Doomsday was so dangerous, because you watch him take out the entire Justice League before Superman even gets there.
Right.
And it just little things like Wonder Woman's the last leaguer standing before Superman arrives, just little things like that where you're like, oh, Wonder Woman could do it.
She could do it.
Close.
She's
so close.
It's so, and it really does harken back to the graphic novel itself, to the comic, in that sense, because that is how that sort of played out in the comic. Was the Justice League was trying to stop Doomsday first, and then Superman was the last line of defense, and Superman stopped him, but only with the price of his own life. Right. And that's how this played out, and it was beautifully done. Such a great, much more true to the comic, and for my money, a much more enjoyable adaptation than Doomsday was.
I agree, and I think it even took some bits out of your favorite film, Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. In the
the colon is very important.
It's very important, and in the Doomsday's bones growing into like arm blades.
Yeah.
So it's not just Superman and Doomsday punching each other to death, but in Superman's final act to save Lois, mind you, in this animated version, Doomsday turns his sights on Lois, classic Lois, throw a rock at him, see if what that does. Desperation, gonna do anything.
Typical
Lois being a good person, and Doomsday turns on her, and in Superman flying and punching his neck out, which was amazing, the full spin. It's so great. But then for him to be just caught in the blade is really I liked it a lot. It's way better than just I punched you in the face,
right.
Which you do see in this film. You do get that big old 1-2, but that's not the end of the fight. I liked it. I like that they also used the New 52 redesign of Doomsday, which I think is really cool with the tusks on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I understand. I think it just adds just a little bit of pizzazz.
Yeah.
Makes them look a little bit less like the Hulk. Just like enough that I'm like recognizably Doomsday, not Gray Hulk with bones.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see that. I can appreciate that for sure. Yeah. I don't always love Doomsday's ponytail when he has one, so I'm glad that that wasn't a thing here. You don't like ponytails, Frank? Not on my Doomsday. No. So I'll take the bony neck protrusions instead of a ponytail if that's what it takes. I just don't think that Doomsday should look like he was at the Jimmy Buffett concert.
Sure, I get that.
We're staying away again in Doomsdayville.
Dun. Just surrounded by sadness.
I love the idea of Doomsday as a Parrothead.
Just like away and margarita,
sipping a margarita, and like wearing a Hawaiian shirt. He's got a margarita and like a parrot on his shoulder.
Oh my God! Destroys the planet. Just sipping with a margarita. Well, good day's work done. Oh my!
Doomsday the Parrothead. Yeah,
it's a good image.
Yeah, it's
Hawaiian
great
shirt Doomsday. He's got a camera around him, sunscreen on his nose.
Tourist. Oh man, I want to
Doomsday.
I want to go to a Comic-Con now and have an artist like do a commission of that.
Tourist Doomsday, Margarita Doomsday,
Parrothead Doomsday. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Somebody please make that and send it to
please.
Anyway, I think Death of Superman works really well because there's a lot of character moments in it. There's a lot of stuff that makes you feel. It's one of those like it makes you care about people very quickly. So even if you don't have a super emotional connection to Superman or Lois Lane or Bibbo or the Kents or whatever, you feel like you do by the end of that 75, 80 minutes, however long it is. And even like the Justice League itself feels like a family, like a team. So when they all start getting taken out, it hurts to watch them go. So you feel their pain when Superman is taken out. There's a great scene where they're trying to decide their next Justice League meeting, and someone was like, "Oh, what about Thursday this night?" And Batman's like, "I can't. I have a meeting with Damian's headmaster." And they're like, "Wait, please tell me you're on the PTA. We need more cupcakes at the bake sale." It's so good. It's little things like that really,
the joy. It brings me so much joy.
The joy, right? This is because there is such joy and such fun. So like it couples really well with the tragedy of the death of Superman.
Oh, I see. Yes. The juxtaposition of so much joy with these characters and the tragedy that's about to befall them. And yes,
exactly. So all the way through, it's really great. Now, Return of Superman, fresh in our brains.
Yes.
What did you think?
I liked it a lot, not quite as much as Death of Superman, but Reign of the Superman I thought was a good part 2 to the story.
I agree. I think part 1 is one of their best entries in the 20-something films that they've done now. Whether you're talking in their in-continuity universe or just a good adaptation of a story, it's one of their best. Top 5,
Agreed.
Probably.
Oh, definitely agree. Agree.
Yeah, edges some other really excellent pieces out. Because there's some really good ones. There's some really, really good ones, but it just completely edges some. Oh, it's like right up there with Under the Red Hood or New Frontier, which I know is not everyone's favorites, but I really liked it.
I did too.
Yeah. So
Wonder Woman I really loved also.
Wonder Woman is an excellent one.
Yeah.
I would say Mask of the Phantasm, but that was produced under a different set of circumstances. This wasn't like when because Superman Doomsday is the first one. So
right.
Like moving from that list. But anyway, yes, Death of Superman. So Reign of the Superman, I agree with you. It's good. It's really good. It's not the caliber of Death of Superman. maybe that's just because Reign of the Superman itself is not as good as Death of Superman.
That's true. Honestly, that part of the story is a little weaker than the actual Death of Superman story itself. So the source material is a little bit weaker to begin with. So you got that. I think
Tomasi didn't write Reign of Superman either. It was written by somebody. So like you're missing.
Continuity is not really there.
No, it is. I think, but you wouldn't. I think the emotional heart that Tomasi brings is not as present in Reign of Superman.
Sorry, when I meant continuity, I didn't mean like it did. Obviously, the story flows one into the other. I meant more that like it's not this
continuity of the writer.
Yeah,
of the tone of the writer, I guess. Or something. Style. Yes, I agree. But it does a good job at here are these 4 different versions of Superman, and we're going to introduce them to you and make it make sense for you, which I think is good. They're all in some ways introduced in Death of Superman, which is nice. When you go back and watch them back to back, like all of those characters are pre-introduced. Just even in little bits. The Eradicator is a hologram. You see the Superboy clone at the end. You meet Henry Irons and who am I missing? Oh yeah, and Hank Henshaw's like spaceship explodes and whatever else. That's a whole scene in Death of Superman.
Right.
So it does all tie. It does all tie together. So when they all show up again later, you're not like, wait, who are these people?
Yeah. It's that is really well done, and they planned it appropriately, like to plant the seeds for part 2 in part 1 so that it all flows. They did that well, and now realizing that it was 2 different writers, that took some coordination to make sure like Tomasi was going to put this stuff in part 1 so that the part 2 writer could then take it from there.
That's right. I'll use my one lookup. I will see who is the writer of Reign of the Superman. What's your favorite out of the 4? Cyborg, Eradicator, Superboy, and Steel. Who's your favorite?
I actually really like Cyborg Superman. I always have been sort of drawn more to him. So it's funny that you said that I was a cyborg because I think he is kind of my favorite. Now, I love Connor Kent, and clearly this is him, but this is not really him when he's become the version of Connor Kent that I love yet. So the Metropolis Kid / Superboy / whatever, he's such a brat that I find him annoying in this story. I always do, and I always have in any medium. I always find him annoying in this story. And then it's only later that I come to really appreciate Con-El for the great character that he becomes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you, especially on the bratty thing. Don't call me Superboy. I'm the Metropolis Kid. He's so close to saying that in this.
I know.
Because he says, "Don't call me Superboy," and it just say Metropolis Kid. Just say it.
I know. I wish they just dropped it in once because their whole thing was that he's the LexCorp Superman, so he's call him Superman.
Rolled out a little bit earlier than he was supposed to be,
right?
And that's why he's a little young, which I think is a great story selling point. Jim Krieg is the Tim Sheridan and Jim Krieg. Jim Krieg wrote Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Another one of their better adaptations, like really solid,
awesome.
So, I just Superboy. I like different versions of Connor Kent than the bratty Connor Kent. That one doesn't do it for me, though. I do like the leather jacket, like one piece downward triangle. Like I like the look.
I like the look. Yeah.
I am definitely more of the t-shirt wearing Connor Kent variety.
And not for me, it's not specific to the costume. It's just about who he is when he's wearing that.
Those right. Who is he when he's wearing it? Those are 2 very different types of Connor Kents.
Exactly.
So I like that. Eradicator is always my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even know why, even specifically. because Cyborg Superman is really cool. I really like Cyborg Superman. I don't know why I like the Eradicator so much. Maybe it's just aesthetically. I think the Eradicator's suit generally just looks cooler. I kind of like the green visor for dumb reasons, and I honestly really don't know what the answer is, but and I think the twist on the Eradicator in Reign of the Supermen, the way that because I mean, John Henry Irons is basically John Henry Irons, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then and then Superboy is Superboy, and Cyborg Superman is Cyborg Superman. Eradicator is the one that they played with a little bit.
That's true. Yeah, I did enjoy that. I like the Eradicator just like in general, the idea of it. Like it's a very cool, very 80s sci-fi kind of concept, right? Like late 80s, early 90s of like, oh, it's the protector of Superman who's meant to protect Kryptonian DNA and you know bring him back to life, and all that is so interesting. And yeah, that twist of like the energy coming from the Eradicator into Kal-El was interesting. Was really, really cool.
Do you like the way that they handled Superman's actual return in this version? Like why he returned, what he looked like, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what he looked like was pretty much right off the page, right? I mean, like the hair, the beard, the suit, like it was pretty comics accurate. So I had no problem with that. And his reasons for coming back, yeah, I was fine with that. Honestly, I liked it. It's kind of a funky story anyway, so I'm always open to different interpretations on it because I feel like it's a little contrived on it, you know, honestly, and they had to bring him back, right? So they had to find some way to bring him back, and they strung it out over a year, and then he came back. So
right, I agree that it's contrived. I honestly think that the most realistic. Or not realistic by any stretch. That's not the right word. I think the reason I bought the most, which is controversial opinion, I think is actually in the Justice League film. Why they bring Superman back just makes sense to me. You know, like you saw that machine give life to another Kryptonian before. So there's precedent. The reason that they need him to come back, there's precedent. You know, I don't agree with necessarily like some of the dialogue that came along with it. Like what was it like? It was itchy, blah blah blah. That stuff.
yeah.
But like the actual like quote unquote comic book science behind it, you know, like it felt less like a shticky to me than like, oh, he's a regenesis chamber. And, oh, it's just like he was in a coma, you know, and like things like that. It feels less like plot device to me than something, because at least in the Justice League film we had seen it do something like that before. So
yeah, I see what you're saying. It fit that universe well. I think so too. I mean, I get that. I don't love the sort of Frankenstein's monster aspect of it that I get from Justice League, whereas in the original Death of Superman and in this one too,
he wasn't really dead,
and that always bothered me ever since I first read the comic. You know, decades ago now, right. I remember feeling like that. So he was never really dead. So like Death of Superman, and he wasn't even really dead. Okay,
he's mostly dead.
Yeah,
you know, like it's he's mostly dead of Death of Superman.
It's like his batteries were dead. Like he wasn't dead. Put a new battery in him and he's good. Recharge him and he's good. Like it's a little.
I want to see a Death of Superman play out like Princess Bride, where you have Billy Crystal bring him back with just like a big puff of air, and then his body doesn't work quite right when he's trying to fight everybody, and he's just like, he can't move. Everything was slightly paralyzed at first.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
That's like, why has no one done that for me yet? That's what I'm waiting for. just like the Eradicator being like, he's mostly dead.
Like, he's not quite dead.
Kellex being like, he's not quite dead. I'm not dead. Yes, he is.
Oh my god,
that's what I've been missing my whole life.
I need that sketch.
That's what I need. That's the sketch that I need. So anyway,
oh man,
that's so I like that. I really like that they changed his costume by the end of the show, because they did away with the high collar, that because they were all modeled somewhat mostly after the New 52 run of the characters, and so but where some of those costumes really continue to work, and they still work. You know, Green Lantern and Aquaman, they all look fine. Superman's high collar doesn't really work for him the same way. So, and so I'm glad that they gave him a new costume by the end of the
Me
by
too.
the end of the film.
I was very glad. I was very glad about that.
Feels more like Superman when he doesn't have a high collar.
That's it.
It's dumb, but it's dumb, but he just feels more like Superman when they do that.
The high collar and those sleeves, like the sleeves that go all the way to the end. You know, that with that weird little. I never cared for it.
Sleeves don't bother me. The high collar bothers me.
The turtleneck definitely bothers me.
Yeah, and it works. Like I said, it works on other characters. It just doesn't work for Superman.
Agreed.
Talk about some other characters. Rebecca Ramon as Lois Lane.
She's great.
She's
great.
really
I would
good.
not have pegged her for a Lois. Like I wouldn't have thought of her out of nowhere. I don't think, but she was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. There's a real good emotional weight to her, and there's a no nonsense vibe about Rebecca Ramon that she brings to Lois, which is good. She's maybe because of the content, like a little sadder than I would have taken Lois for, even in the before Superman dies. There's like that relationship woe between Superman and Clark that always comes with Death of Superman, and I don't really ever really care for that side of Lois because it never really feels true to Lois for me. You know, the worrying doesn't feel true to Lois, but I think Rebecca Ramon did a great job.
She embodied the character so much that I didn't recognize her voice. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't thinking like that this was her. I didn't think about her. I wasn't like, oh yeah, that's Rebecca Ramon. Like I was just in it. Like it was just she really did a great job with the character. Same with Rainn Wilson. I didn't really recognize his voice.
Oh, see, that's the first time I watched Death of Superman, I was like, oh, I don't think his voice matches his body at all. And then watching it again in the theater, I was like, oh no, he's great. Like it actually took me by surprise how much I turned around. I turned around on it the second time. I don't know what happened somewhere, but I was like, oh no, it does fit. And he is really good. And I don't know, maybe just because I knew it was Rainn Wilson at first, I had a hard time separating them out. And then so when I was able to go back and just kind of listen to his performance for his performance, and I like Rainn Wilson, and I'm not a huge Office guy, so I just like Rainn Wilson because he's a talented actor.
Sure.
But I just sometimes maybe more I don't know, rambunctious Lex Luthor or something doesn't do it for me. I like measured Lex Luthor, and that's just not what he is. But I guess Lex a lot of the times isn't actually measured. In filmed versions, he's usually a little bit more. He usually is a little bit more outbursty. So yeah, it's just hard to counter Clancy Brown, I think.
So true. It's hard. Yeah, I mean, Clancy Brown he's for me still the best animated, best voice of Lex that we've had. So he's hard to top.
Yeah, he is, and so, but I think Rainn Wilson did a good job. He was.
I liked it.
He was a varied and interesting take on Lex Luthor.
For sure, and did not sound like himself. So it was, again, he kind of lost himself in the character, and I really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, because you are a big Office fan besides. So
I am. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of The Office. So yeah, I the fact that I barely noticed that it was him, I think says a lot about his performance. So it was good stuff. I want to talk about Steel real quick.
Sure.
I actually really liked Steel's costume, and
me too.
The thrusters on the hammer and all that stuff. Me too. That was really, really cool. I would love a Steel movie in this universe.
Yes, I agree. I think because there's a danger in people going, oh, Steel's just like Iron Man, because Iron Man's so popular now. Steel, if you're not familiar with the character, is going to feel like a ripoff, like man in a iron suit or whatever.
That's true, but they have very different backs. John Henry Irons and Tony Stark are different enough. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think the concept of the man in the high-tech suit is, an easy comparison line across the board, but he felt very different,
definitely,
than Iron Man. Even I think the hammer helps a lot actually in that, but he felt like there was a real heft and a weight to him, which is very hard in animation to make characters feel like they're actually weighted and they're not, they weigh 0 pounds, they're lighter than air, but to be grounded, it was well done. I like his super bass too,
Yeah.
He had he has a little steel bass, which was fun.
I was into that. I like that a lot. Yeah. So I thought he was a great character, and again, great work on the part of Cress Williams, who has now done Black Lightning and John Henry Irons.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's just steamrolling his way through everybody. I like
so
it.
Cool.
I like it. Cress Williams he's a real good Black Lightning too. Good Jefferson Pierce.
Very, very talented actor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, he's got a gravitas to him. No matter kind of what he's he's got that, I don't know, Liam Neeson gravitas, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. Cameron Monaghan voiced Superboy, who plays the quote-unquote Joker on Gotham.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, talk about talented actor. Jeez,
is that Jerome that he on Gotham?
Jerome and Jeremiah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jerome, Jeremiah, Mr. J, all the variations that he's played.
Cool.
It's pretty crazy.
Didn't realize that was him.
Yeah. He did an interview. This is Gotham related, but he did an interview because the last episode or 2 episodes of Gotham take place 10 years later, where like Batman is really around. The actor who plays Penguin is going to be in a fat suit and like the whole 9 yards. They're like doing like an actual Batman episode.
Oh.
And Cameron Monaghan says that he can't speak much on it, but what the character he was allowed to play in the last episode was the most fun he's ever had on the show. And I was like,
sounds cool.
They did it. If Batman's on the show, they're just going to let him do the Joker.
Right.
Which is, it's just going to hurt. It's just going to hurt to watch that episode and be like, I'm never going to get any more of this. This is the end.
So this is the final, the series finale is
the series finale is a 10 years later in the future Batman. It's basically what Smallville should have been.
Right. Yeah. I might need to watch that finale then.
Just to watch it.
For a good Batman, like a good hour of Batman TV. Like, why not?
Mm-hmm. Yep, why not? It's going to be like Batman's greatest hits. It's just, you know what I mean, for 40 minutes.
I'm here for that. I love that. I haven't been the biggest fan of that show throughout its run, but like I'll watch an hour of Batman like on if there was an actual Batman show, like I would totally be watching it. So
it would be so highly rated. I just don't understand why.
I know.
Like it just feels like a missed opportunity across the board.
I know. Especially, I mean, we're getting Batwoman. It looks like we're getting the pilot has been greenlit, and then we'll see if it gets picked up for series. But
I will always say that it's nice in some ways that they just don't say, okay, here's a new Batman show, because you have audiences getting introduced to all these characters that they probably never would otherwise.
It's true.
Like why would you, a studio take a chance on Batwoman if they were just going to make a Batman show, which they knew would probably do well, most likely like 100% do well,
right?
So so there are good points and bad points to it. If you can make a Superman show, and they were allowed to, probably never would have gotten Supergirl or Green Arrow for that matter,
right?
So so it's all good in its own way. So Frank, this was a great conversation on Death and Reign of the Superman. So you can find us on Beer with Geeks on Facebook, Gmail, and Twitter, and check out our website, beerwithgeeks.com, which links to thoughtbubbleaudio.com to check out all of our other Thought Bubble audio shows. Head over to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio to donate even as little as 25 cents a week. Rounds up to $1 a month. Keeps the lights on. New content, exclusive content for Patreon.
That's right.
Basically the extra ramblings and babblings of Frank Ramblings and Tim Babblings, respectively. Trying it out. So, yeah.
Tim Babblings. Love that.
So anyway, so you can do that. You can also find us on Twitter, of course. To tweet at Frank and me at Timothy PG13 and Frank at Frank Ramblings. So that's the whole kit and caboodle, right?
Right on.
Cool. All right. Well, then, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.